A year ago, I quit this YouTube thing as with the game having little to no competitive scene, it got very stale. But every couple of months I check in and see what's going on. In almost every match, one of you guys recognized me and begged me to come back. Well, shout out to you. I'm back and bringing the most requested video yet. Welcome to the new and definitive guide to fire. So how this is gonna work, I will cover base fire first, then explosion, then lightning. So if you just want tips for the sub-elements, there will be timestamps. Now, on to fire.
If you're going to play fire, you have to know what it offers you. And first up, we have Firebolt. How you use it is you press the trigger, do a punching motion, then release the trigger. There's a little bit of chip damage, however I would not recommend using this. Firebolt does have a charged variant. Hold the trigger down, you'll see some particle effects form. Whenever it looks like this, that indicates that it's fully charged and it changes the attack. So instead of being a straight line, it will have gravity applied to it, and instead of dealing a little bit of chip damage, it will turn into a mini explosion. A tip for Firebolt is since it has that explosion, the explosion also gives knockback. So you can use this to either hit someone and knock them away, or you can throw it like on the ground and knock you away. Flamethrower. The way you use this is you get both your hands, press triggers, and then do a punching motion forward while holding the triggers. Use cases for Flamethrower is it gives you a little bit of movement. However, it's not great, so I would not recommend using it. It does a little bit of damage, and the charged variant gives you additional range and damage. And a fun fact, it actually has just a bit more range than Fire Blast. And lastly, if you go into the controls in your settings, there are flamethrower controls where you can put it on end immediately so that you're not just stuck in the air using them. Fire Blast. The way you use this is you put your hands together, press the trigger buttons, do a pushing motion, and then release the triggers. Use cases for Fire Blast is movement, as it has great knockback. And the second use case is it gives great close range DPS, as if you practice and can do it quickly, it does a lot of damage. Firebow. The way you use this is put your hands together, press both triggers, and then put your right arm or dominant hand, if you're left-handed, backwards. It will summon the bow, then release the right trigger. Use cases for Firebow is going to be mid to long range chip, and it does have a charged variant that gives you additional range, speed, and damage. Quick tip about the charged Firebow, it actually does have very high piercing power, so instead of trying to hit someone with the attack, you could use the Firebow to destroy someone else's attack, for an example, a charged Earth Wall. Fire Jetpack. Just like every element, we get a double jump, and ours just gives us additional movement speed, so use this whenever you're using a movement ability. Fire Laser. How you cast is you put both of your hands together, press both triggers, and whenever you're fully charged, put your right arm forward and hold the triggers. Use cases for Fire Laser is it has great mid to long range chip and can be used to finish off people if they're literally 1 HP. Fire Dagger. These are more of a fun attack, not very good. How you use it is when you're charging that Firebolt, instead press grip to turn it into that dagger, and people are going to struggle using it a lot. How you want to use it is do a small sweeping motion across, not a fast one. If you prefer the way I'm holding it, you can go into the settings and change it to normal. Fire Orb, one of Fire's greatest attacks. How you use it is you put your hands close together, press triggers, and then separate your hands. Use cases for Fire Orb is it does great damage. Since Fire Orb is an explosion, just like the charged Firebolt, it can be used for movement. And like most of the attacks, it does have a charged variant that increases the range and damage. Two ways you can go about using Fire Orbs is you can just push it away, or you can do a scissor motion for more accuracy. So pushing it, and scissor. Fire Leap. The way you use this is similar to Flamethrower, but instead of punching forward while holding the triggers, press grip. Use cases for Fire Leap is pretty much movement, but it also does a small amount of damage on impact. Fire Shield, another fantastic move Fire has. The way you cast it is similar to Fire Laser, however, do not have your Fire Blast charged. Use cases for Fire Shield is it does have a parry function, so instead of using both grips to parry, you could just summon a Fire Shield quickly. With parrying, it also has a blocking function, so like I said, instead of just blocking, you could just throw up a shield, but you have to have both triggers to use it. The second you let go of the left hand, it becomes an attack and does not block any longer. Fire Javelin. The way you use this is you essentially charge a firebolt. Whenever it is charged, press grip. And use cases for this is it denies an area of the map. So this is a fantastic move to use whenever the zone is closing in, and you can put this on point. You might have noticed that I skipped heat, and this is why. So heat is a special mechanic that only Fire has. And essentially what it does is it allows you to obviously charge an attack, but you can transfer it into anything. So for example, if you charge a Fire Blast, whenever it is charged, you can put your right arm back for bow, you can put your right arm forward for laser, you can separate them for orb, you can do a Fire Blast, or a secret tip that most people don't know about is if you can get charged Fire Orb, you can press grip on either hand and get 2 charged Firebolts. Let's go over Fire's techniques. First up, we have Burning Embrace, and essentially what this is saying is if you deal a small amount of damage, it will cause the target to burn for essentially a bar of damage. So this is very good to pair with Fire Laser, as just hitting them a little bit with it will guarantee at least a point of damage. Scorched Earth. This increases your explosion and blast moves, for example, Fire Orb, Fire Blast, and Charged Firebolt by 30% larger. This is highly recommended. You should never not run this, as there will be times where your opponent is extremely fast and hard to catch, so getting that additional range on Fire Blast is crucial. Rocket Thrust. What this is essentially saying is it gives you 50% more flight duration. So if you're a player that loves to stay in the air and you keep finding yourself falling a lot, this one's for you. Flaming Aura. Kind of a meme technique, not very good, but essentially how it works is if there's anyone within 8 meters of you, they catch on fire, dealing small amounts of damage. And the last one, Blue Fire. What this does is it gets all of your abilities to charge 100% faster, but with the downside of slowly burning your health away. Now, Blue Fire is different than the rest, as it pretty much completely changes your playstyle and could honestly be considered a sub-element just due to how different you play. If you're going to use Blue Fire, you have 2 options. You need to be using a lot of lasers, doing a lot of poking damage, or you need to be very aggressive, really capitalizing on those quick charge times. Like every element, we get 2 ultimates, and they are honestly fantastic. So, you have Lightning Bolt, which if you're a high risk, high reward type of player, this is for you. Fire Pillar is the much more consistent option, dealing less damage but easier to hit.
Onto Fire's game plan. Most people would agree it has 2 comp viable styles, which I call Close Range Brawl and Long Range Poke. Long Range Poke consists of Fire Laser and Fire Bow as your main source of damage, typically coupled with Burning Embrace, as it's very easy to proc with Fire Laser, leading to a ton of free damage throughout a round. Your goal is to stay out of range of most attacks and stay just in range for yours. It takes some practice to know where that sweet spot is, but if mastered, this style is deadly. Close Range Brawl is exactly what you think it is. You're looking to get very close to your opponent, dealing heavy burst damage with Fire Orb and Fire Blast. This style is pretty complicated though, and could honestly have its own video, but here goes. Your main source of damage will be from Orb and Blast, as they are the most consistent options close range, and deal tons of damage. Now your biggest problem is, how do I get close enough to use them? And honestly, it depends on what your opponent is playing and doing. Typically, what I like to do is use a fire orb to launch myself towards my opponent while jetpacking for additional movement speed. In the air, I'll start charging an attack and see what my opponent is doing. For example, if an earth player is standing on the ground charging a wall, I'll wait for him to throw it, dodge out of the way, then lob a charged fire orb for major damage. But if the wall is undodgeable, you can use a fire arrow to destroy the wall, fire leap to continue your aggression, then using a fire orb blast combo for some great DPS. But this is where people mess it up. Once you've gotten close to your opponent, keep spamming attacks and do not let them get away, as you will have to restart the whole process over again. Let's say the Earthbender is very good at wall running, and you just can't keep up. Make sure to use the occasional fire laser to lock them in place, as they will be forced to block or take some serious poke damage. This is where you can gain some of that lost distance, and if you can get close enough, you can actually use a fire orb to get in some free damage at the end of your laser's duration. Like I said though, it's pretty complicated, and this is one of the hardest playstyles in the game, as there is a ton of room for error, and Elements Divided doesn't reward aggressive play very much. If this was all pretty confusing, let me know in the comments if you would like a close range brawl playstyle video.
Since you've made it this far in the video, I'm going to give you a couple quick tips for fire. First one is, after you use an attack, you should almost always use a shield after, because even if you don't get hit, it can be used as an attack after. Second tip for you, if you're struggling to land orb bombs against people, you can actually instantly detonate them at close range by immediately following up with a blast after. A strategy I personally use is to get 2 charged firebolts, throw one behind me to propel me forward, and then use the other one as an attack. Last tip I have for you guys is from the Lightning Goat Zero. It's an insane movement tech that you can do by using Fire Leap at the height of your speed, cancel Fire Leap, then use Jetpack to carry your momentum. In case you don't know, the way you cancel Fire Leap is to use it while you're doing it.
Let's move on to Fire's matchups. First up is Water, as it's the most popular. Against Water, Fire Orb is your best attack, as it destroys Wave and Ice Wall, making Water's greatest strategy much weaker. Look to get in close with the Orb Blast combo, or Fire Laser from a distance whenever they go to charge a wave. Now, with Earth being the best element in the game, right now you're going to struggle against it, but that doesn't mean you're helpless. Some great habits I picked up is to actually stay low to the ground, as it makes wall stasis a lot more difficult. Make sure to constantly jetpack to avoid earth traps, and whenever a earthbender goes into the air, make sure to be aggressive, as you have the advantage in the air. Against air, you have the advantage, as most of air's attacks are mid to close range, which gives you plenty of opportunities to chip away at their health with Fire Blast. Avoid using laser, as it can be full blocked by air shield. Lastly, we have the awful Fire Mirror. Since you both have the same attacks, this comes down to who utilizes their element better, and honestly the only tip I can give you is to maximize your charges better than your opponent. For example, if you have a charge ready and your opponent is charging, don't let them charge for free. Use a fire laser to force them to drop the charge while you get some chip damage in. And with that, base fire is done. If you follow this guide, I guarantee you will become a much better player overnight. Just make sure to practice, as fire is all about skill and timing. Now onto the subclass, Explosion.
If you're going to play Explosion, you need to know what you lose and what you gain. You lose Flamethrower, Fire Bow, and Fire Laser. Now, what you gain is, instead of Fire Laser, you now have Explosive Beam. So you lose Fire Laser, which gives you that continuous stream of fire, but instead now you get a tool for burst damage. So it does more damage with a direct hit and less damage with just the explosion. The use cases for Explosion Beam is to stop people from charging. So let's say if this was the Earthbender that's charging a wall, I can just Explosion Beam at his feet to make him drop it. Blast Hands. This is what replaces Flamethrower, and you cast it the same way as Flamethrower. Use cases for Blast Hands is pretty much movement, as it has great knockback and the damage isn't that great. And your last one, and honestly the GOAT of Explosion, Explosive Bow. So you lose Fire Bow and you get Explosive Bow. The difference between the two is Fire Bow has a lot of damage and piercing power. This loses the piercing power for some easy to hit AoE damage. So just like Explosive Beam, you'll deal more damage with a direct shot and less damage with just the AoE. And the biggest difference between the two is the charged variant. So as you know, Fire Laser gets a charged arrow which has high piercing power and damage. This, instead, you get 3 bolts. The damage does not increase, nor the range or speed, and it's not very good. Like there's really nothing to say about it. Don't use them.
On to recommended builds. I received these from the one and only Omni-Man. Yes, the Omni-Man from Fortnite. Jokes aside, he's probably the best explosion player in America. First up, we have what he calls your balanced build, essentially an all-rounder. Vital Discipline is the first one, which makes sense as with Explosion you're going to get in close as you do not have Base Fire's laser, so playing from range is difficult. Next up is Scorched Earth, a staple in fire builds, as without it, it makes some matchups almost unwinnable. Lastly, you have the options between Thickened Skin or Fleet Dexterity. Thickened Skin is a great option due to how strong blocking is at the moment, but if you find yourself not blocking much, Fleet is an excellent option as it provides that extra dash, boosting your mobility greatly. After the balanced build, he also recommends a more aggressive build containing Close Combat, Scorched Earth, and the options of Fleet Dexterity or Vengeful Rage if you want to go full damage. Let's move to Explosion's game plan, and from the interview I had with Omni-Man, it looks like Explosion has some strengths and weaknesses to look out for. Let's go over the strengths and what you're looking to do within a round. Immediately you will notice Explosion has great mobility as the blast hands synergize really well with Fire Leap and Fire Blast, so you need to level up your movement to really take advantage of blast hands. He also heavily recommends staying above your opponent as fire does well in the air and makes landing your blast moves like Fire Orb and Explosion Arrow much easier, as even if you miss, the AoE explosion can guarantee some chip damage. Next up is Explosion Bow, and this one seems to be the poster child of Explosion as it has great range and damage. He really emphasizes constant pressure, so you need to be using this attack a lot within a round.
Just like with Explosion, if you're going to play Lightning, you need to know what you gain and what you lose. The base fire moves you lose is Blast, Bow, Laser, Dagger, Orb, and Shield, and Javelin. So playing Lightning, expect to lose a lot of options. Now let's go over the positives, what you gain on Lightning. And first up, you have Lightning Punch. Just like with most of Fire's moves, the way you cast it is to put both of your hands together, hold triggers. Lightning has a system where it has 2 charges, so there is no instant moves like on Fire. You have to at least get a tier 1, what I call tier 1 charge, and a tier 2 charge. So whenever you hold your hands together, you're going to feel the controller vibrate. That indicates that the first charge is complete, and you can use a basic move. And then you have a tier 2 charge, which is pretty much just a charged attack on any other element. That's tier 1, here's tier 2. The main use cases for Lightning Punch is going to be movement, as it is very quick, so you're able to weave attacks, go in, get out, and the second use case is it's your main source of damage. As you'll notice quickly when playing Lightning, most of your abilities are hard to hit. This is your most consistent option. But to give credit where credit is due, it's not called Lightning Punch for no reason. If you're able to punch someone, you can actually gain lots of DPS. And the way I was told to do it is from 0. Whenever you do your Lightning Punch and you do that punch forward, as you're traveling forward, make sure to throw a second punch forward, and most of the times you'll get it. Lightning Orb. The way you cast is exactly like Fire Blast. Put your hands together, hold triggers, and when that tier 1 charge is ready, you just do a pushing motion and release the triggers. A couple of things you need to know about Lightning Orb is it bounces, so if you're above someone and you're trying to get like AoE with it, that will not work. Another thing is that it has piercing, so it passes through objects, and I'm pretty sure in the latest update it can actually pass through walls. And also with the latest update, it now has slight homing, so if your aim is a little bit off, it helps you out. Lightning Spear. How you cast is just like Fire Dagger. You get that Fire Bolt by pressing trigger, tap grip, and it will change it into the Lightning Spear. Main use cases for Lightning Spear is going to be chip damage, as after you use an attack, it's always nice to throw a couple of these after. And the last thing, its charged variant actually transforms it into an AoE, so this is also nice to know if you're above someone. Let's go over lightning swords. This is a melee that's unique to lightning. How it works is you put your hands close together, hold triggers, then separate them. The swords will spawn in your hand, and what they do is, obviously they're a melee weapon, so they deal a decent amount of damage if you can actually close the distance. But they actually give you increased walk speed, so it's always nice to walk around with these out. And you can press grip to transform them into lightning spears if you need some instant damage, or you can put your hands close together and either dash or orb. And lastly, we have Lightning Vortex. Now, the way you cast is to put your hands close together. Whenever you get a tier 1 or tier 2 charge ready, you tap grip. There will be a slight delay before your actual vortex comes out, but when it does, you will see this cone of lightning that deals continuous damage on the tier 2 charge variant. However, they both initially deal the same amount of damage. Use cases for Lightning Vortex is going to be a 50-50 mix-up. So instead of lightning punching in and then using additional lightning punches around your opponents, it's always nice to mix it up a little bit and use a vortex. However, they are difficult to use because your opponent can get away. So what Zero recommends is, as you go in with the plan to use vortex, make sure to approach from above, as it gives the enemies less time to react, so you have a higher success rate of actually landing that move due to the delay. And the last little tip about vortex is the charged variant lingers, as long as you're holding it, it keeps going, but it actually has a high might value. So if you're going against something as water or air, it's very nice to keep the player within the cone, as they will have little ways of dealing damage back to you. However, do not use this against earth or fire. Let's go over recommended builds. And with my interview with Zero, there are 2 techniques he says to never take off, and the first one is Vital Discipline. This one's self-explanatory, as you're going to be close range due to all of your abilities being close range, and having that additional health really helps out a lot. The second one he highly recommends is Fleet Dexterity. As you know, lightning is very movement heavy. You need to get close to your opponent, so having that additional dash makes a hell of a lot of sense. Another good tip he said is to never use close combat. This one actually surprised me, but it makes a lot of sense because your dashes, as you know, is your main source of damage, but they actually are hit scan. So if you're not already in close range of your opponent, you actually will not get the damage buff. So it's almost never recommended to use this. He says to stay away from double-edged, as you lose that 20% additional health, and most times the 25 additional damage isn't worth it. Concentrated Fist is kind of funny if you're able to master the art of actually hitting someone with the dash, but as we all know, punch bending isn't really a thing that's competitively viable, so I would not recommend it. Now, for the final option, with these 2 techniques equipped, you have 4 more points left, and there's basically 2 builds you can go with. The first one is the normal counter-attacking one. He recommends going Thickened Skin for the additional block power, and Athletics, as the walk speed pairs very nicely with your swords. Vengeful Rage is also a nice one, as you will take damage being in close range, so when you get below 50%, you can close out a match more easily. But if you're more of an aggressive player, you want to go with Blue Fire. Being able to charge that tier 1 dash a lot faster will help you close the distance and close a game out faster. However, if you are not an aggressive player, do not use Blue Fire, as you will probably burn all of your health away. And for ultimates, as we all know, Fire Pillar is the more consistent option, but since you're playing Lightning, put on Lightning Bolt.
Last but not least, we have Lightning's game plan, which is pretty simple and depends on which build you're running. Let's go over the basic counterattack playstyle, and it's pretty self-explanatory. You're charging Lightning Dash, looking for an opportunity to dash in, get some damage, and get out. It's a slow process, but very effective once mastered. And for making it this far, here's a couple of techs for Lightning. The first one is lightning punching and then dashing after. So, how you do it is, after you lightning punch, you want to dash backwards so that the lightning travels forward, but you don't. This is very useful if you're 1 HP or if your opponent is 1 HP. The second one is lightning dashing into a block. So most people don't know this, but you can actually almost immediately block after lightning punching, and this is very useful because most of the time you'll get a free parry. That's finally over. I don't really do outros, but I do want to shout out my new Discord server that I recently created for ranked/competitive players. So if you're looking to really take your skills to the next level, go to the link in my description, join up, and I'll walk you through the process. Hope to see you there.